Professor Raja, working as Assistant Professor, EC Department at SNS College of Technology and Autonomous Institution, Coimbatore. In this YouTube video, we are going to discuss the interface requirements in microprocessor. So, in the previous YouTube video, we will discuss the various addressing modes and instruction sets used by 8086 microprocessor, and the architecture of 8086 also discussed. Now in Unit 2, we see what are the various practical applications of 8086. So in order to do any applications of 8086, first we have to interface microprocessor with some external components. So for this we use two important media. One is the memory mapped input output and another one is the input output mapped with input output. So in this YouTube video we are going to discuss the importance of memory mapping. So for 8086 they want to transfer a data. They follow two mechanisms. One is synchronous mode, another one is the asynchronous mode. In synchronous mode, it usually occurs when peripherals are located within the same computer as the CPU. A close proximity allows all state bits changes at same time on common clock. So in synchronous mode, both the input and output are matchingly or they have synchronously transmit the data. For asynchronous mode, they don't require that source and destination use the same system clocks. So depend upon their freeness, depend upon their availability, they have the capability to transfer their information. So this figure shows the various memory and input output interfacing with a 8086 microprocessor. So in this left hand side figure, a microprocessor will consist of MWTC, MRDC, IOWC, IORC, that is memory transfer control, memory data control, memory write transfer control, memory read control, input output write control, input output read control. And the green color indicates the data bus and the brown color indicates the address bus. And the various memory devices used in 8086 are ROM and DRAM, that is data RAM, and the various input output devices used are, for example, in this figure I am given keyboard and printer. So sometimes we are also used for timers, or sometimes we also use it for some speakers, or sometimes we also use it to connect the buzzer. So in this example, the blue colors are indicated the memory device and the red colors are indicated the input output device. And single arrow mark pointed the one-way communication and a double-sided arrow mark pointed the two-way communication. So for example, ROM will have a single way access to microprocessor, whereas the RAM will have a two-way communication, that is both the microprocessor and the RAM will have access to each other. Same way, address bus can access to keyboard, also the data bus have the access to keyboard. So depend upon the usage, they can be either read and write operation based on their availability. Interface memory, that is RAM, ROM and EEPROM, are input output devices to 80 microprocessor, are mostly used in memory chips or some devices are connected to a microprocessor. An address decoding circuit is used to select the required input output devices or a memory chip. Now we are going to discuss the comparison between memory mapped IO and input output mapped IO. So memory mapped IO is treated as a memory, whereas input output mapped IO is treated as a input output devices. Memory mapped is 16-bit addressing, input output addressing is 8-bit oriented. Then it requires more decoded hardware, whereas input output requires less decoded hardware. So memory mapped input output having the access of 2 power 16, that is 64K locations, whereas input output mapped IO can access the address of 2 power 8, that is 256 locations. So compared to input output, memory mapping have a large surface. Then memory mapped having less memory, whereas input output memory mapped having more memory address. In this memory mapped input output, memory instructions are used, whereas in input output specific instructions are used like in and out only. Memory mapped having control signals are used, input output mapped having special control signals are used. Memory map are doing arithmetic and logic operation performed on some given data, whereas input output cannot do any mathematical or logical operations. So in memory mapping, the data are transferred between register and IO, whereas in input output mapping, the data are transferred between accumulator and input IO. So memory mapping means it is purely on register, input output means it is purely on accumulator and input output instruction. So in this YouTube video, I have discussed the basic requirements of interface with the 8086 microprocessor, also the comparison between memory mapped IO and IO mapped IO. In the next video, I am going to discuss the programmable peripheral interface, that is 8255. Thank you for watching my video.